What's up YouTube? So we are on the final pre-program series video. Tomorrow, day 1 is coming out at 7 in the morning for you guys, so you get to watch the first workout, see how it's gonna go, see what you're gonna be doing. But today is pre-program series number 6, and we're gonna go through planning meals ahead of time that are going to fit your macros on MyFitnessPal. The main takeaway from this that I want you guys to know is that it is so crucial to your success with a busy lifestyle to plan ahead. What I suggest you do is you play around with meals that you think you want to have, meals that you know you're gonna have. Maybe if you meal prep for the entire week on one day, then you use those meals and you plug them in on certain meals for the future. Or if you order from a meal prep service, you plug those in ahead of time and then plan the rest of your day around that. Play a little macro Tetris. I'll teach you guys exactly how to do that in this video. But if you do that with your busy lifestyle, you sit down and you really evaluate what's going to be best for you and plan it ahead of time, you are going to be so much more successful with hitting your numbers, hitting your macros, staying on track. Even when things don't go as planned, you already kind of have a structure, you already know what you can kind of do to work around it. So let's get right into that. So the first step that you need to look at is looking at your day and your macros and your numbers as a whole. First of all, what are your macros? Do you have really high carb, low fat macros? Do you have really high protein, high carb? Or do you have really high fat, high protein, low carb? Look at your ratios, because right off the bat, if you have, let's say you have very low carb macros that you've given yourself and you're planning your day ahead of time, there's no way in hell you're going to be able to fit like 5 servings of oatmeal into a low carb day, if that makes sense, because oatmeal is made of carbs. Or you don't want to be having snacks like rice cakes or carb dense fruits like apples. If you have low carb macros, you can't fit those carbs into your macros. But on the other hand, if you have very high carb, low fat macros, then you want to stay away from the stuff like fattier meat cuts. You want to stay away from salmon, whole eggs. You want to use like the Pam spray instead of oil and keep your fats lower. Plan that ahead of time in your grocery shopping because you know what your macros are, if that makes sense. So looking at your macros as a whole is definitely key to picking out the right foods at the store and then planning those ahead in MyFitnessPal. So just kind of get a general idea of what kinds of foods you're going to need to be buying, what kind of foods you're going to need to be planning ahead, what ratios your meals are going to need to have. So like I said, if you have like lower fat macros, then maybe your meals are going to be primarily high carb, high protein. If you have low carb and high fat macros, then your meals might need to be higher fat, higher protein, lower carb. Save those carbs for later. That makes sense. The next thing you're going to want to look at is what is the ideal number of meals that you're going to be able to eat per day. So for me, I work from home, so I can eat 5-6 times per day because I like to eat frequently. It satisfies me more than just a couple of bigger meals per day. And I get bored, so like I want to be able to eat every 2 to 3 hours because otherwise I'm gonna turn to snacking. So for me, that works really well. Now, if you work a job that you don't get a break for 12 hours, then maybe more of an intermittent fasting sort of setup is gonna be better for you. All that means is that you kind of shove all of your calories into 1 or 2 bigger meals throughout the day, and like it doesn't matter meal timing wise, meal timing and frequency and all that stuff, that makes minor differences compared to hitting your total daily numbers. So it is much better for you to eat all of your macros in one sitting right before bed at the end of the day after work versus worrying about meal timing and screwing up your numbers, if that makes sense. This is all in the context of hitting your same numbers every single day that you've calculated for yourself in the pre-program series number 2 video. Given that you're hitting your numbers, you gotta look at what your day looks like. How many times are you gonna be able to sit down to eat? How many times are you gonna be able to cook? How much time do you have to allocate to cooking? So if you don't have time to allocate to cooking, then you need to make sure that you're plugging in foods and planning your day ahead on MyFitnessPal with stuff that you know you're gonna have access to. So whether that be the meals you've prepped in the freezer, or whether that be the meals that you order from a meal prep service, or the meals that you pick up at Chick-fil-A. It doesn't matter what you're plugging in, it matters that you plan it ahead of time. And like I said, with flexible dieting, you can fit any foods you want into your numbers. You can have Chick-fil-A for a meal. If that's gonna fit your lifestyle and that's gonna fit your macros, then that's in the end gonna be the better option for you in that moment. You wanna look at this in the context of like the next day or the next week. So if you have a full work week ahead of you, the best thing you can probably do for yourself is meal prep and plug it in ahead of time. But if you have just maybe one day per week where you know you're gonna be out of the house all day, then maybe you kind of just leave the cooking to the days that you're at home and then pack all your meals ahead of time for that one day that you know you're gonna be out of the house all day, and just put them in your meal bag or something. And then the other thing that I want you guys to consider is what is something that's going to kind of keep you on track. So for some people, when they're dieting, they need to have their dessert every night to keep their cravings at bay, otherwise they'll fall off track. So for me, that's like having my protein ice cream every day that I have the recipe for in another video that I will try to link below for you guys. I have my protein ice cream that I love to have every night. I look forward to it, and it keeps me from falling off track. Other people, it might be a protein brownie, it might be some sort of sweet tooth curbing recipe. Also guys, if you send me your starting pictures before July 17th, 2017, like the first video of this pre-program series said, you can be entered into an email list to get nutrition pamphlets with recipes with sweet tooth curbers like what I'm mentioning now, sent to you every single Sunday after this 30-day kickstart begins on the 17th. If you're watching this after the fact, you can still do the 30-day program. I still think you should go to the first video and download that program because it's completely free for you to do. Every single video in this playlist is free for you to watch and learn from, but that contest was a one-time thing. So maybe you have one meal per day that you know you need to have. The first thing that you should do, we're gonna jump right now to a view of MyFitnessPal. Let's say you need to have that protein ice cream every day. On a blank day, plug that in first. If that's what you need to have every single day to stick to your numbers, plug it in before you plug in anything else. So you can see here, I'm plugging in my protein ice cream, the ingredients for that. I make it the same way every time. You can look at the recipe that I have for it in the video in the description box below. And you can make it with any sort of protein, but this is honestly the best protein that I've had and made it with so far. So I highly recommend Core Nutritional's ISO. And then maybe you have some meals that you've prepped in advance. Like maybe you meal prepped on Sunday and it's Monday and you want to plan for Tuesday's meals. Well, what meals do you have already set out to go? For me, that's going to be a Brussels sprout, chicken, and potato meal that I make all the time. And so I already have that made. The portions are already written out on the Tupperware. I just label them to make it easier on myself to plug it in. And so here I am typing it in and putting it in ahead of time. Now, the next thing that I love to have every single day is my cauliflower cream of wheat breakfast. Now guys, I'm showing you an example of what this planning ahead would look like for my hypothetical macros. I'm actually just gonna throw out random numbers and plan the day according to those random numbers and show you guys, because I want to show you guys it's not that hard to adjust to any sort of set of numbers. So next up is my cauliflower cream of wheat breakfast recipe, like I said, and that will also be linked down in the description box below, the recipe for that. But basically I'm plugging in all the ingredients here. As you can see, it's very easy to plug in the same foods over and over again. So if you find meals that you like, it will make it easier on yourself to just kind of multi-select and add the same meals in over and over again. Of course, if you get sick of those meals, there is nothing wrong with changing it and adding something new, guys. Change your meals as often as you need, but if you don't get sick of something and you still like eating it, there's no need to change that, especially not if it's easier to hit your numbers that way. So now that the breakfast is in, the meal prep is in, and my protein ice cream is in, let's start adding stuff in. So another thing that I like to typically have is I'll have rice cakes with peanut butter before my workout. So let's go add that into my snacks section. You can see here I'm looking at my daily totals for my carbs, my proteins, and my fats. My target numbers that I'm going to be planning my macros around for you guys is going to be 50 grams of fat, 200 grams of carbs, and 130 grams of protein. So that's going to be the targets that I'm going to hit. This is what I've used up so far, and so I need to think about what I have left and what foods that are going to fit those numbers to get up to those daily goals. I've added the rice cakes, I have added the breakfast, the meal prep, and the protein ice cream. Now I want to plan in some oatmeal before bed. I typically have this a lot, so let's go to meal 5, plug that in, see if we can fit in some fruit, some oatmeal, maybe an egg white, some protein powder, something like that, and then see what we have left for the end of the day. So let's just think here. I have about 40 grams of carbs left, I've got about 15 grams of fat, and about 20 grams of protein left. So if I go back to the meals that I have open, I can definitely add some fat somewhere. So let's add some fat to my oatmeal. If you guys didn't know, I love adding coconut oil into my oats. It's really random, but it's a great way to add in pure fat into a meal that doesn't have much in it. Try out coconut oil in your oats. I promise you will not regret it. It adds such a good flavor. Then we are left with a blank meal, and because again, so I work from home, so I can take the time and cook. And when you hit this point, kind of just think about what you have in your fridge and what would make a good meal. So I'm going to put in an egg, some more chicken, more potatoes, some broccoli, and mushrooms, because that is what I have in my fridge at the moment. And I've also chosen these foods because potatoes, broccoli, mushrooms are all very dense in carbs because I have a lot of carbs to fill up. And then I have a little bit of chicken to get my protein goal up to that 20-gram range. And then I have some fats from the egg. So let's see where that puts us. That's actually put us right at 50 fat, actually a little over, 10 over our protein, and right up to our carbohydrates. So let's see what we need to adjust. I need 10 less grams of protein. So I could go to my chicken, cut this in half, and now we're down to 1 ounce of chicken with that meal, and we're at 131. 199 and 49 fat. Now this would be a great place to leave it for the day, but if you really wanted to hit those numbers exactly, what you can do is you can add 1 gram of fat from your isolated fat source, meaning the coconut oil. So it's just fat, so if you need a little bit more of it, just add 1 gram. And then same thing goes for liquid egg whites. If you need less protein, you can just change the egg whites so that it says 4 grams of protein instead of 5. And then if you need 1 more carb, you can go to your potatoes and add 1 more carbs worth of potato. And boom, look at that. We are at 50, 200, and 130. Just like I said, that is how you play macro Tetris. And guys, this is not my actual set of macros, but it's just some numbers that I threw out there that are similar to the ratios that I use for my macros. So I wanted to show you guys how I did that, how I play macro Tetris, and how I plan a day ahead of time. So as you can see, I'm gonna have breakfast at home. I have the potato, chicken, and Brussels sprout meal already prepped, and I'm gonna cook the meal 3 at home with the egg and everything like that. I'm gonna make it fresh. I'm gonna have my protein ice cream, and I'm also going to have my oatmeal before bed, and I can pack my rice cakes with peanut butter as a pre-workout snack if I'm ever going anywhere. So that fits my lifestyle really well. That's what I typically do. So yeah, that's how you should plan your day ahead of time. Take everything into account that I kind of mentioned earlier, and just go ahead, go in on MyFitnessPal, do it the night before your day, especially if you're going to work that day and you need to plan everything out, you need to pack your meals. Do it the night before. You will save yourself headaches on headaches, because then you just have your meals, and like, let's say you pack everything in ahead of time and you plug it all in, then whatever's in your meal bag, you know, is good to eat. You can have it whenever you want, and then you're set for the entire day. So I highly recommend it. Give this video a thumbs up if this method of planning your macros ahead of time has helped you. That's it for the pre-program series. So tomorrow I'm going to see you. I'm going to weigh in, show you my physique update. I'm going to show you my in-body scan results, so my body fat percentage, everything like that. And I'm going to hit leg day, day number 1 for you guys, show you through it, and we're going to get this 30-day Kickstart trainer started. So go to the video linked down below that's titled Download the Program for Free, so that you can join in, start the program with me, get entered into the contest, everything like that. Or you can just do the 30-day program whenever you want. It's downloadable for free. You can have it, share it with a friend. That's all I ask, is that you share it with someone that you care about and spread the word around that there's this great, free, informative program on the internet for you guys. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your support, and let's get at it tomorrow. Tomorrow starts the program. Let's do this. This was pre-program series number 6, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow.